Well, welcome everyone to today's broadcast. My name is John Chapman. I'm Programme Director for Touchstone FMS, and I'm very proud and pleased to introduce you to the Programme Management SIG webinar. Today we have got Professor Dr. Silke Schonert from the University of Applied Science, Cologne. First of all, a few housekeeping points. We are recording this webinar. The slides will be made available on the APM website. If you have any questions, please put them into the question box. At the end of the presentation, I'll try and get as many questions answered as possible. We're not going to run any polls today. We'll finish by 1:30 p.m. everyone. Before we start though, Silke, could you move on to the next slide, please? Just a little bit about the Programme Management SIG. We have our annual general meeting on Thursday the 23rd of June. The details are on the website. Following that, we've got a presentation, how to effectively generate confidence in programme delivery. So I hope some of you, or most of you, will come along to that. I see we've got close on 100 people already online, and I do hope that you'll come along to that event, which is in London, as you can see. Silke, can you move to the next slide, please? So Professor Dr. Silke Schonert. Now the background to this is the Gower Handbook of Programme Management, second edition, is being launched. Silke has written a chapter on ICT and Programme Management, and what struck me about it was the sheer size and complexity of the programme. The cultural considerations, the amount of work that went into it, and today we've asked her to present on this because I think it's very important in the Programme Management SIG that we understand about programs in different sectors. And this ICT one seemed to tick the boxes of size, complexity, number of people, and diversity. So I'm very pleased to introduce Silke to you. And Silke, if you could talk us through about this program, we'd be most grateful.
Yeah, thank you very much, John. And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very happy to have the chance to give an overview and some insights into the program management of the HERKULES program. And I would like to give you first an overview on the program and then how we did the program management, what were the challenges, and what were the main success factors. Let me first give you a brief introduction into the German Armed Forces, the Bundeswehr. The Armed Forces has gone through massive restructurations during the last years, and basically the Bundeswehr is divided into three parts. On the one hand, the Army, then the Air Force and the Navy, and central services like the information and communication technology. There are around about 1,000 locations in Germany, and it varies over the years. At the beginning of HERKULES it was 1,200, and at the moment there are around 900 locations. The goal of the HERKULES program was to modernize the complete information and communication technology with a budget of 7 billion and in time of 6 years. The intention behind the program was to focus on core tasks of the German Army, and core tasks like humanitarian operations. And of course, to modernize the IT landscape in Germany, reduce backlogs which exists in a higher amount in investment. Service provided by provision by one source was needed, and all-in-one adjustment of staff too. So the contract took quite a lot of time. In 1999, the decision was made, the decision to modernize the ICT. A Europe-wide call for tender was followed by different negotiations which were successful 7 years later. The negotiations were ages, so there were a lot of. On this slide we can see the program scope. The program scope was divided into two parts. On the one hand the green IT, and on the other hand the white IT. The green IT is closer related to military operations, and the white IT is closely related to administration. And the focus on the HERKULES program was the white IT, to renew the administration IT, and yeah, this came along with a lot of service categories. Modern communication, for example, wide area networks, establish a central user help desk, and implement an enterprise resource planning system from SAP, and yeah, to replace 6,500 tools which were used until then. And yeah, and some set up central services such as internet and email, of course. Out of scope was the so-called green IT. That means IT which is closely related to the military process. This was not goal of HERKULES. The scope was aggregated into service categories, and the goals were, for example, to implement 140,000 IT workstations, or around 300,000 new telecommunication equipment like telephones or mobile phones. We had to implement an SAP solution for 45,000 employees, and central services like user help desk, directory services. So we had on the one hand centralized goals, and on the other hand decentralized goals. And on this slide you can see that the scope, that the categories depend on each other. This is rather a simple picture, but you can see, yeah, of course, at the bottom there are organization and procedures, personnel and processes, and this is followed by central services, data center, and user help desk, and at the top of the pyramid you see the PCs and the printers and servers, and that's what the users see, and it took quite a lot of time until the user could see any benefit from this program, and there has a lot of been work to be done in at first to make it yeah, available for the users. On the next two slides you can see the initial situation versus the objective in every single category. There were a lot of PC types, and the goal was to only have 3 standard PC types. And at the beginning of HERKULES, the German Army had 90,000 printers from multiple manufacturers, and the goal was 21 printers from only one manufacturer. And so on, 300 software products instead of 6,500 different products, which were rather hard to manage throughout the years. And yeah, it was of course a very tough decision which software products should be replaced and which not. And yeah, at the end 300 software products were left. On the next slide goes on with several categories of goals which are intended. So let me come to one of our main challenges. One main challenge was size. The standard project management methods and tools were not or are not made to deal with such a huge number of objects. In the HERKULES program, we used a Microsoft project-based tool which was customized concerning the requirements concerning size. So at the end we had a tool which was able to deal with 3,000 projects with nearly 6 million tasks. Could be used by 1,500 project users, project managers, 20 project office users, and so on. The data volume was adjusted to each project has about 50 documents, and the data volume per project around 100 megabytes. It was concerning tools that we weren't able to use standard tools, and concerning methods it was the same. We weren't able to use standard project management methods, and so we developed some new methods. We had on the one hand centralized and decentralized projects. We had the second main challenge, and it was complexity. First it was size, second complexity, and complexity is, just a moment. Complexity has three criteria: huge variety of objects and heterogeneous objects, and the third criteria is that there are several interdependencies between the projects and between the objects, and all three criteria were given. The HERKULES program was extremely complex, and so we had centralized and decentralized plans for 1,150 locations with 7 regional top-level plans, 29,972 milestones, and we defined completion criteria for each location. For the modernization of each location, it was measured by 90 completion criteria. We had in some 3,000 project plans and 50 plans to report 190 main results to the management. Besides the classical plans, we used result-oriented plans, and here on this slide you see the structure. All project managers were asked to define the 3 to 5 main results of their project and to formulate requirements or partial results they need from other projects. This is essential to get an overview on the interrelations between the several projects, and it works best if you ask the project managers who need something for another project than to ask a project manager who has to add a goal for another project. So with this goal-oriented or result-oriented plans, you can see the main results on the one hand, and on the other hand you see the interrelations between the projects. A pyramid of different plans were developed, and we had plans for program level, of course, for project level, and so on. And aggregation is one major concept to deal with complexity. There are already 3 or 4 solutions to deal with complexity, and aggregation is one of it. So we applied the principle of countervailing influence. What does that mean? The program management gave guidelines. They formulated guidelines, and they passed them on to the project. And the project had to detail the plan. And the next task was to balance it and make adjustments so that the solution fits to the goals which are planned. Another principle which was applied was the principle of gear wheeling. And with this we managed the complexity. We developed a matrix of interdependencies, and every project manager was asked to list the partial result from other projects. And you see on the left side, that's a status, red, green or yellow, and like a traffic light, and every project manager was asked in steering board to give an update concerning status. And there are 2 kinds of status. You see it on the left side and on the right side. The left side status is this status without considering the influence of other projects. And on the right side, you see the status by considering the influence by other projects. And between the different status, you see different kinds of interrelations, and we mark it with T or in. We have with T or I, we have information on the one hand, and we have technical interrelations. And yeah, that's a rather simple construction to divide. You can do it more more detailed, but it worked for this program, only to divide into information and technology. So on the left side, on the top, you see the plan with the main results, and this plans lead to a roadmap where you could see on a few pages, have a short overview about all projects. And on the left side, on the bottom, you see a list of interrelations, and this list of interrelations was aggregated to a matrix, and this matrix gave an overview about on the interrelations, interdependencies. Of course, we also had several controlling key performance indicators and used them throughout the whole program. On the one side, the milestones or the interrelations or earned value or whatever was needed to get the status of the several projects. On the next slide, you see our initial plan. Our initial plan, which was divided into 4 phases. On the first, our preparation phase, then our migration phase, where we took over the whole stuff from the armed forces, and then the phase of integration. And the phase of integration is the main phase of this program, because the goal was to modernize the whole IT throughout these 36 months. And the last phase, of course, is the operation, and it was the goal too to prepare the operation of the IT. The integration phase was divided into several parts, and the parts go along with the goals of the program. Then, that's how the program really went. You can see the integration phase took a little bit longer. It took 55 months instead of 36 months. So we had some unexpected risk, and in the first 2 years it was more or less successful to manage the complexity, where sometimes the complexity overruled us, and we had to develop and to think about new methods how to deal with this complexity. So we improved during the program time, and at the end the ICT was modernized. We had a third big challenge: first size, second complexity, and third change management, the cultural integration. It was an alliance of 3 organizations. On the one hand, the armed forces, on the other hand, Siemens, and on the third party was IBM. And these 3 had to cooperate, but first they had to establish a common sense of project management, because every organization has a successful project management method, but they did not fit So they had to establish a common program management method. And this change management program within the HERKULES program, it consists of 3 parts. On the one hand, leadership workshops for entire management. This program lasts 2 years and was separated into 4 different modules. Then the network aspect, we had regular round tables with executive management throughout the organization, and 60 employees were trained as cultural change multiplier to extend the penetration in service and town, so that they could reach more employees and could support the change. Then we have the third part, the workshop on developed teams are offered, as well as communication concept for the operational level of the organization. So let me sum up the main challenges. Its size, its complexity, and its culture. And you can say the whole in programs is more than the sum of its parts. And this was very clear in the HERKULES program. And it was very clear that no project can finish the program alone. And so it's, from my point of view, absolutely essential that there are no project goals, but contributions to a program. That's, from my point of view, a new way of thinking. A program cannot be finished with its goals. It can only be finished with finished contributions to a program. And we found out that there are several success factors for the HERKULES program. So let me draw a conclusion. Definitely a success factor was one core team on both sides. Both sides means on the one hand on side of the German army and on the other side of the service alliance, which consists of Siemens and IBM. A success factor was the willingness to modernize, and this was caused by the high degree of suffering with the existing situation. We had at any time an involvement and backing of the top management, which was very important and very helpful. And we had, of course, a strong and centralized program management. And from one point of view, it's the only way to manage the complexity. It won't work just between the projects. It's essential to have a centralized program management. Intensive preparation, of course, and at the end, crossing the cultural barriers. And we had no rocket science technology. We had rather standard technology, and that's at the end we recognize that's a success factor too, because the implementation of technology and processes made it easier to be successful. So that's my brief introduction into the program and the program management, and thank you for your attention, and of course I'm happy to answer your questions.
That was fascinating, Silke. Thank you so much for that. We've had a few questions come in. The first one says, you mentioned the IT element and the change management element. Did you also have a business process program running in parallel?
A business process modeling tool, a business process program?
I think it's probably about were there any changes in business processes as well as the technology?
Yeah, we had a lot of changes in business processes, and there was a lot of theoretical work, and we optimized our processes, and sometimes we had to adjust our processes to SAP of course, as well. And at the end, we had an optimization of all processes. So it was a project in this program too.
Thank you. The next question is, can you expand on the complexity issue, please? Did the program not understand the solution, or was it about resourcing? So can you tell us a little bit more about complexity, please?
More about complexity. The complexity of the program was there were several organizations, and there were several goals. We had a lot of programs, we had a lot of tasks. That means we met the first criteria, we had a lot of objects. The second criteria of complexity says there are heterogeneous, and on the one side we had a security concept to develop, and on the other side we had to train people, and the third was, for example, to build up a technology. So we had very heterogeneous projects which had to get along and to hit one program goal. And the third criteria are the interrelations, and of course you can't finish the computers without training the persons, and you can't implement the wireless area network without the security concept, and so we had a lot of interrelations. And that are the three main reasons why this program was so complex.
I did like that chart that you showed where you had the project red, amber, green status on its own, and then the project's red, amber, green status when you look at what else is going on. And I thought that was very good, a very clever visual representation of things. The next question we've got is, what was your approach to stakeholder management and communication, especially between the myriad of users, and how progress was tracked?
Yeah, we made an initial stakeholder analysis, and we had about, the organization of the Army is rather complex too, and we had about 60 stakeholders who had to be managed, and throughout the program we developed methods and had a communication plan to deal with the requirements of those stakeholders.
So you looked at each one and thought, what's the best way of communicating with them as people then, I guess?
Yeah, sure. We looked at each one and made a communication concept for any stakeholder, as well as for the public. It's a private-public partnership, the HERKULES program, and so the public was interested too, and we dealt with media, and so that the information were regularly updated.
Thank you. The next question, and this one also occurred to me, was about the cultural change multiples. What was the training about, and how successful was it?
Yeah, it was about the different cultures, of course, and the different cultures and how the communication works in different cultures, and it was the concepts which are together defined, so that they will used in the program, and the cultural program was the 60 persons had the challenge to spread the word how the program was meant, and how essential and how important successful program would be.
Thank you. And I think cultural change, that's always a challenge, working with different groups. And when I saw the different stakeholders there, when you've got the Army and the Armed Forces on one side, and they probably think very differently from IBM. and I would guess, you know, trying to get a common language together, as you said, that's important in communication. The next question is from our chair, Ed. Well, welcome, Ed. So you've asked, assuming you worked in virtual programs and teams, are there any lessons learned? Anything that you could tell us about virtual working that would be of use?
Virtual working was not our main concept.
Right.
So maybe I can't tell you anything new about it.
Okay, all right, thank you. Moving on, we've got another question here. How stable was the vision? You know, did you manage to successfully control non-critical changes?
Yeah, it was rather stable, but the contract, yeah, as I said, the contract was closed in 2006 about modernization of ICT. In 2008, modernization of ICT meant something very different, and in 2010 too. And so changes were were normal in this program, and in this contract there was said it's should modernize always as at the status quo of the technology. And so of course there were discussions, but not really unexpected changes.
Here's a financial question now, and this is always a pointed one. Did you come in within budget? Can you tell us?
Yeah, we did. We did. Mm-hmm.
Oh, well done. That's brilliant. Next question. You mentioned the program, well, part of it overran in the integration phase by about 2 years. You know, was this a budget issue or was it a timing issue? So was there any budget implication of the integration running late?
Yeah, it had no budget implication.
Okay, thank you. And benefit realization. How did you look at the benefits of doing this? I mean, you were simplifying in many ways the infrastructure. Did you have a benefit case?
Yeah, the benefits, yeah, we made surveys on the benefit from time to time, every 6 months, and yeah, the benefit increased over the time, and the employees got used to the new system and build up trust to the new colleagues, and so the benefit increased. And the main benefit yeah, goes along with the goals and objectives of the program to concentrate on the core processes on the armed forces, and to reduce the processes for operation for the IT. And now the armed forces has a modern IT infrastructure.
And what interested me, Silke, was you went from 300 software products from 6,500. I would have thought that's a benefit in itself. You've got standardized training, you've got skilling that you know what you've got to do. 6,500 is a lot. How did you choose the 300?
Yeah, that was challenging, and we talked a lot to people and to users of the software tools. We developed software tools together, and I think not everybody agreed in the end, but 99%.
I've got another question here, and this is one that's sort of close to my heart, about getting users to participate in the program because they're busy with their existing suffering. Was it difficult to get people engaged and to work with you?
Oh, yeah. No, it was not really different. Yeah, it depends a little bit. In every program, you have a small percentage of persons who do not want the change, and so that's why we implemented the change management program as well, and with a lot of discussion and involvement, the it worked, that we could work together.
Good. Next question. How useful was the dependency matrix to keep the program on track?
Mm-hmm. It was extremely helpful. First, to get transparency over the interrelations, and on the other hand, to use escalation if it's needed, and so that you have a tool where you can see my project is green or yellow or whatever color, and it's a different difference if you regard this from the interrelations point or from the project point, and so it was an initial tool for discussions too, but very helpful discussions.
And in conjunction with this question, we've also got, what was the most important element of the matrix which made it a success?
The most important element of the matrix?
Yeah, the dependency matrix.
Yeah.
Is there anything that's priority on that?
The most important was the transparency, and another point that it led to useful discussions.
Thank you. I like this question. It's if you were to do it all over again, what one thing would you do differently? Is there anything?
Yeah. What would I do differently? I think we learned a lot throughout the program, and if we could apply this from the first day of the program, perhaps there won't be a delay in, won't have been a delay in the program.
I mean,
so my main findings are you don't get along with only project management methods. You need program management methods, and these program management methods they are meant to reduce complexity, and that is my main experience I made in this program.
At the end, I think given that you had 6 million tasks, 3,000 projects and 100 project managers, that's a lot of complexity. 140,000 workstations and 45,000 employees on your SAP resource management system. That's a lot that you've got to try and work with. One of the things you said early on was 17,000 pages in a contract. That's a lot of pages to write.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a lot of pages, but it they were necessary to describe everything which is needed and how it should be fulfilled, and it makes it easier in the program to get along with each other. It's a definition of the objective of the program.
So was that one contract that all the suppliers signed up to?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Next question, was there an issue with varying levels of quality of program information feeding in from the project managers?
Could you please repeat the question?
I think it's about what's the level of the quality of the data you got from project managers. You know, were some people better than others?
Oh, okay. At first, we had no certified program managers, but we certified by IPMA standards our project managers throughout the program, because it makes it easier to speak one language, one project language, and to apply the same methods. And we had different project managers, of course, with different types of characteristics, but mainly they are very result-oriented, and yeah, they are very well educated in project management.
So you had skilled people working with you?
Yeah.
Then. We've got a question from a student now. As a student, what is your advice for one embarking on a project for the first time?
what I would advise if I talk to somebody
So if you're a student and you're going to go into project management, have you got some advice for our student friend about embarking on a project? What would you suggest, Silke?
For students, that's my daily business to yeah, to work with students on projects, and I think it's very important to get yeah, to get experience in projects in university too, and I would advise to read books and to engage in project management associations to be in a network which is experienced in projects.
Well, I concur with that. It's important that as individuals we engage with professional associations. I think for me, the very first project I worked on, the project manager was excellent. He coached me, he gave me lots of advice and said, you know, you need to look out for these points. I'll find someone who's a good mentor, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I think some of project management is also a leap of faith. You've just got to get on with it. You can learn a lot from books and from seminars and then go and do it and try and get on many projects, because that's the way to learn, I think.
Yeah.
Next question. Hold on a minute. I've got another one. I'm just finding it now. Did you have an overall, like one person who was the project sponsor? Was there ultimately one individual at the top, or were there many?
We had a project sponsor, but the project sponsor changes during program duration, and well, we had support of all top levels of our organizations. We had a very strong program manager, and yeah, so I think he was a really success factor for the program too.
Excellent. Someone's asked a bit more about the contract. Was it a fixed price contract? Was there some risk sharing in the contract? How was it structured?
It was a fixed price contract, and you asked how the contract was structured?
Yes, it was fixed price. You've answered the question, I think, Silke.
Yeah, I talked about the service categories earlier, and the contract was structured in service categories.
Right. Next question: what methodology was used? Was it agile? Was it waterfall? Did you use something like that?
Oh, we were aligned to the IPMA standard, and we had an own, we developed an own method, and it's yeah, it's mostly related to IPMA, and we didn't use a waterfall method.
Now the system's live. I mean, what happens ongoing about replacement of PCs and telephones? Is that an operational thing that's dealt with under the contract?
I didn't get the question. I'm sorry.
Well, every 3 years or 4 years, many people replace PCs. Does that all happen now? Does IBM deal with that?
Yeah, every 4 years we have a refresh of the ICT, and we are not stuck to one manufacturer, but yeah, it has to be done every 4 years.
Okay, right, thank you. Well, that brings us to the, oh no, actually one more question. Did you run this as a PMO, Project Management Office, or Program Management Office?
Yeah, yeah. We had a Project Management Office, which was staffed with 16 persons, and they supported the project managers in reportings or in several tasks, and they were responsible for the project governance and for the program governance. That every project has the same face and every form has the same shape, and so the project management office was central and essential for the success.
Okay, I think we've just got one more question now, and it said, you mentioned you had no project goals. How did you measure the success for each project and make sure that one project didn't impact on another?
We defined the project contribution to the program, and we did this by measure points. We had measure points, and they measured the program, the project goals, but they measured also the contributions to other projects. That means, the interrelation were regarded to.
I mean, that struck me, and that interrelationship was hugely important, to be able to say, where am I in my project? And I said that earlier, and then where is it in relation to other projects? And at the end, you talked about, it's how it all comes together to deliver the program.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Silke. I mean, that really has been enlightening. Thank you, everyone, for your questions today. I think it was really informative. As I said earlier, the webinar has been recorded and the slides will be made available on the APM website. But, from the Program Management SIG and the Association for Project Management, we thank you, Silke, and we thank you to the University of Applied Science for providing your time today. And, thanks everyone for joining this webinar.